think the meeting is being recorded now. Yeah. So today we're moving to CSS. I'll be sharing my screen. Um, Now that we have discussed about HTML, we can see that what we have done doesn't look like what we have been seeing everywhere. We don't. It doesn't look like the Google website we usually see having learned HTML. So definitely something is not something is missing, and that missing part is what we are going to be talking about. Ordinarily, um, just to say this, whatever that we're doing, just what's doing well. People are earning money by just knowing HTML and CSS because when you go on, people will tell you that JavaScript is difficult, but CSS can give someone everlasting headache. And when you have JavaScript, when you have issues, you can see the issue in the console. You can see what it is. But at times it's quite difficult to debug CSS. So this is one reason why you have to take the class very serious. It's wide, very wide, but we'll be talking about the basics. Once you know the basics, you can be able to build on it, or you can be able to add one or two things to it. And I guess we have all seen the materials, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it contains a lot of video. So please take your time to watch the videos, and I would advise that you watch the videos. Why, if you have any question, you can also read the documents. So one of the websites that is beginner friendly, like even if you are not taught anything, you don't have a tutor, is W3 school. You always find it very, very friendly, very, very friendly. Even people that have years of experience that have been coding for several years will still come back to W3 school. So if you have any issue, apart from Google being your friend, especially on CSS, you can come to W3 school. You always find it friendly. Another website I'll be introducing you to is MDN. MDN is a little bit advanced, but you always find everything uh, explainable there. Everything you need from HTML to CSS to JavaScript, you always find everything there. You can see documenting web technologies, including CSS, HTML, and JavaScript since 2005. So you see a lot of packages, a lot of libraries people are using. They are being built on the basics of HTML and CSS and manipulating the DOM in JavaScript. So this same button, this same ordinary button in HTML is the same button you'll be seeing everywhere. The only difference is that the way they style it or the way it's being used. So that being said, let's just jump into what we have today. I think the other mentor has introduced himself. So this is me. Sorry, I will not be putting on my camera. So we'll be talking about CSS today. So I hope we can finish all this because we still have some topics. So if we can finish this today, fine. And if we can't finish all this, we can still take it tomorrow. There was one good way to learn is by practicing. So I don't really believe that if you are because these several topics will be taken. But if we once we go to the workshop part, we'll be implementing something related to it. It will be easier to understand. So if you are giving an assignment, you always run into issue. Trust me, you're always going to run into issue, and that's the best way to learn it. If you have an issue today and you're able to solve it, you will not be having that same type of issue another time. So I believe all of you are on your system, right?
No.
Okay, if you're on your system, can you please raise up your hand? Okay, Okay, that's fine. I would advise you, please, especially now that we are in CSS, HTML is something that people do say I just only need a day or 2 days. Yeah, but you still need, because you really need to understand the layout very well. So it's good someone have an idea of um, of HTML. But in CSS, I'll just the best way to learn it is practice. And as a beginner, we cannot just be coding along together so that whatever I've done, because I can write A and give it a color, and you can write that same A, maybe you didn't give it the semicolon at the end, and that thing will not work. So that at least we're able to identify some challenges while in class. So please, if you are not on your system today, tomorrow, please let's make sure we are on it so that it will give us some kind of so we know where how we are progressing. So that takes me to the topic we'll be going through: introduction to CSS. How do we write CSS? There is everything has a syntax. JavaScript has a syntax. HTML has its own syntax. Then you write opening and closing tag, open and closing brackets, then you put yeah, open and closing tag, then you can put the value there. That's how you do write HTML. But CSS also have its own syntax, and also how do we comment in CSS. Last class we were introduced to how you are going to comment in HTML. So but today we're also going to be introduced to how do we comment in CSS. There are two different things. And how do you link CSS together? We'll go back to that. So to avoid to save us from time, let me move to the next slide. Introduction to CSS. What does CSS mean? It means what? Cascading style sheet. Cascading means something that comes like cascade from the top to the bottom. That means the reading of the style will be from the top, then going down, going down, going down, going down, going down to the last one. The last one, if you're having two styles that are related or they are the same, the last one will come will be the one that will be displayed in your browser. So the tools we are going to be using today, we'll be using I would just advise we use most especially what is mostly being advised by people is that you use Firefox when you are doing CSS, because you can easily see what you are doing compared to Chrome. Personally, I don't use Chrome, but when you listen to some people who are very very good in CSS, they always prefer using Firefox, because you can easily see what you have written in your console or in your when you inspect it. So this is how you inspect an element by open. I think that was being done. When you click on this inspect, if you right click and click on inspect, and if you're on your Chrome, the same thing. If you right click and inspect like this, how you inspect an element. So CSS stands for cascading style sheet. So we'll also be using we'll be using our VS Code, just like it was introduced last week. You might decide not to use VS Code, but VS Code is the most popular text editor. So yeah, I only have my folder. I don't have anything. So coming back to that. So CSS is the language we use to style the web page. If you check, we are given a task of having you should do your layout of your CV. You can see that CV is not something that you can say that, okay, let me show my uncle that I need a job. It's not possible because it's not properly styled. It's not admiring. So that is what leads us to CSS. So CSS describes how HTML elements are to display on screen, paper, or in other media. CSS2 is not a programming language, but it does some kind of programming stuff. We can use CSS to edit a bit, to modify our HTML. For example, now let's just for example now I'm creating a file here called index.html. and I'll also be creating index.css. So most people usually like using index.style.css. I'll be
You
going with
can see your screen, sir.
wow.
Oh, I can see it. I don't know if
We can see your screen though, but the what you are creating, your index.html,
it's
one, we
visible.
can
Can
see
you see
that.
my
I can
can you
see
see
your
my
screen.
editor?
Yes, it's visible, but the
The
print is
font
very
is really,
small. Maybe you can
really
bolding it.
tiny, tiny. So
Is this okay?
Yes. No.
Okay, don't worry. Let me just it should be better. Okay, don't as I'm good, you should be able to see now. This is super big. I believe people that are on the system that I can see it clearly, but if you're on your phone, you may not be able to see. So I guess like last week you have been taught how to generate this boilerplate. If you click on hyphen, is it hyphen? No, exclamation mark. That is if you press shift one. That is on my system. That is on Windows. If you click on it, it will bring this emit outside, which can help you to generate a boilerplate for your HTML. So because HTML is just divided into two, your head and your body. Your head and your body. This is your head. This is our head, the head, sorry, and this is the body. Inside the head we have a different type of metal. So I believe it was being explained last week. We also have the title. So I can say Web3 ladies week two. That would be our title. Yes, people that are using their phone can also see it. It's it's being very zoom out. So I will save this just like we were told last week. I can just create a p tag or like let's say an h1, then close it here. Then I can use welcome. So I think I have live server. Okay. If you don't have live server, you can open up this extension and search for live server. You can search this live server, you can search for it. So my own is being installed. You can click on it to install it. Are we together? Let me have feedback. Okay, that's fine.
Yes, we are.
Oh, that's fine. So I can close this now. If I right click here and click on open with live server, it's going to open it up. You can see we have welcome. We have what? We have welcome. So this is our HTML. What I was saying before was that our CSS we can use our CSS to modify um, our HTML. For example, now if I inspect this, sorry, I'm using I think my default browser is Brave. I'm inspecting this. This is how we inspect our elements. If I click this arrow and I click it on this, it's going to inspect this. It's telling me that I have H1. The color is black. The font is 32. All these things we are going to go about it. If I click on it here, this is something similar to HTML. Now it's telling me that element does style. If I want to style this element now, for using CSS, I can say display none. You can see we don't have it again. So now we are using CSS. What I'm bringing out from this is that we are using CSS to manipulate our HTML. I don't want to go to our text editor yet so that it won't be ambiguous. So that's what I want to explain about that. We can use our CSS to manipulate our HTML. So CSS save a lot of work, and CSS can bring a lot of stress. It can control the layout of multiple web page all at time. Yes, we'll get to that soon. So we can also have an external style sheet and store in CSS file. Like now, if you look at this now, I created an external style sheet. This is an external style sheet. For you to create it, you just create index.css. This extension, this.css will let the computer or the browser or the editor knows that it's a CSS file. So I've created this an external file. I can put it inside a folder. this to create a file, and this to create a folder. If I create a folder, just like you usually see most of this is our CSS folder. Now I can easily drag this now and put it inside here. So my CSS is inside my CSS folder is inside my index. My index.css is inside my CSS folder. So this is nice. Yeah. So let's move on from that. Okay. So now the first thing we are going to be talking, we have talked about introduction to CSS. That's just it. We use CSS to style our HTML page. Now, the second one is CSS syntax. How do we write our CSS syntax? Now, this is an example of how we are going to be writing our CSS. For us to style something in CSS, CSS, or there have to be a communication between them. They have to talk to each other that, okay, this my A, this my P, you are seeing, this is how I want it. There must be a communication between the CSS and HTML. Now, if I open this again, now, for example, now I have H1 here. I have H1 here. I want this H1 to be black. I want this, instead of, the color is black, so already. The color is black, you can see it here. So permit me to minimize to have it side by side so that we don't need to, yeah, I think you should be able to see it better also. Yes, you should be able to, now I'm having side by side. Now this color is black and I want it to be red. Now there are ways of doing it. So what I want to explain here is that for us to be able to style this H1, we have to select it. That's the way CSS communicates with HTML. We have to select that, oh, out of all these things, let me also create something like H1 times 5 times 4. As we have welcome Web3. Let me have, instead of H1 here, instead of H1 here, I'm changing this to H2. I'm changing this to, now if you see, I'm selecting multiple things at the same time. If you want to select multiple things at the same time, you are going to press Alt. When you click on those things you want to select, then it will select all. Like now I'm selecting two. If I want to select more, I'm pressing down my Alt key. It's already down. If I click on this one again, it's going to select it. If I click on this one, it's going to select it. Click on this, it's going to select. Click on this, it's going to select. So now anything I want to do, okay, I lost it, sorry. Okay, so anything I want to do, they are going to be or it will appear to every one of them. If I delete this, all of them get deleted. And if I'm going to write H3, all of them get H3. But let's just stop at this 2 and Web3 ladies. Now if I save, the page reload. Now I guess you have been talking about inline elements and block level elements. Is that true? Hello, can anyone hear me?
I'm not
I
sure.
can hear you.
We're not
taught
taught
inline and block level.
Yes, parent.
Okay, let me just say, because I believe now, just like we were told, just like when if you start learning HTML and CSS, start putting yourself out. Whatever you learn, you should be able to post it online, let people see, and even apply for jobs. Sometimes you only need the basics to get a job. One thing about tech is this: if you're given the task I'm supposed to do today, once you have some kind of engineering knowledge, you find it, you still try, you find a way to do it, either by copying somewhere, either by calling a friend. You always excel. So we have in inline and block level elements. What about inline? Inline means that the elements are always side by side. They only take their own width. They don't take the whole level of they don't take the whole space. Now if you notice this thing, normally what we expect that I write H1 here, there's still space here, there's still space in this place, we have space here. Instead of, why is this Web3 coming here and why is it not staying here? that tell us inline and block level elements. Inline elements are elements that what? They only take their own space. Their own space, chicken now, they'll just take it and they will go. But block level elements, they will take the whole width. Now, how do we know that this one take the whole width? It takes, if I inspect this element now, can you see the length? It's covered the whole space. So block level element takes the whole width of their container. They take the whole space, 100% of the space, especially on the row, they will take it completely. The same thing as H2 is also a what? It's also a block level element. And also our H32 is also a what? A block level element. But I said inline element just take their what? They only take their own width. They don't take all the space. For example of that one is what we call span. If I write span, this is span. Hi. This, if I inspect this, if you look at this now, if I inspect this, you can see it doesn't take more than its own space. Why this one takes all the whole space? If I write another word there, hello, you can see they're only taking their own space. They are not. You can see it. All this one break it. They are breaking to new line, but this one they keep taking only their own space, only their own. So that's one by what. So inline elements just take their own width. They don't cover the whole width of their container. Why a block level element take the whole space of their container? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because it's an interview question, especially if you are lucky to start applying for a job. They'll ask you what's the difference between inline element and block level elements. Inline element just take their own width, while block element take the whole space available. Another example of inline elements is our A. Another example of inline elements is our A. If I write link here, here is an anchor tag as the main plot. You can see he's also taking his own level. He's also taking his own width. Another one is an image tag too. Another one is also an image tag. If I put odds here, so we still talk about attributes. These are attributes. So this is an example. They are all what? They are all taking their own width. But why block level element take the width of their container? So that's different between the two. And okay, so how do we style elements in what's the syntax in CSS? Now I'm going to write it in this, but I'm not going to be linking it here. But the syntax is this. Now you have the element you want to select. The element you want to select.
Hello, can I ask a question?
Please do.
Okay, so this inner and block, I don't still get it. What is the use of it? Because that's welcome. We can still write something at the front, right? So, like,
Yes.
what is really the use of the inner element and the other one? I don't still get the use.
Okay, now for example, now I said I want to write about myself. Now I want to make this topic, this thing myself. This is for an example. Let me go back. This is myself. Now I'm taking this out. This is the heading, myself. Now, what do you expect? The next thing I want to write about myself has to come under this. It should not be, I'm deleting this. Now, I've written myself. Now, the next thing I want to write about myself is my name, isn't it? If I'm to use an element, I want to write it inside an element. Now, if I use P, now, my name is so. You can see now it's not coming beside this one, isn't it? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, it's not coming beside this myself, because this myself. Let me just give it this myself. Let me just write style here. Let me write color. But sorry, our background color should be red. Let's write something like this first, so I can clear. You can see now that means this my H1. It takes all the space here, so there's no space for this myself, my name, to stay beside this myself. So if I expand my screen, you can see it still takes it. Are you getting me?
Yes.
So block level elements takes the whole width of their container. They take the whole width. Why inline element does not take the width. They only their own width, as small as it is just what they are going to take. Why block elements will take every length of their own container. For example, now let me give this one a span. Example of inline element is span. If I give this one to a style of, let me say, a background of red, of yellow, you can see this one only takes its own, it only takes its own width. It doesn't take more than that. So now
Okay.
if I write another one like this, they are going to be lining up beside each other because it's only there are still space here. So that's the difference between inline and block level elements. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So now how do we write let's just have this here. If you have any question, unmute your mic. I may not be able to see and because I
So
am not
please, I just want to clarify something.
okay.
Are you by
Right.
any means implying that block level elements is best for writing headings, while inline elements is best for notes?
Well, it depends on what you want. Like now, there are ways. I think you have been talking about breaks. Like for example, now now we are writing our Web3 ladies as our headings now, right? I can also write this with span. This is also it depends on what you want to use it for. I'm writing with span, though it's going to be small because of the small font size. But if I write anything beside it, it's going to what? It's going to write beside. But I want this one to come to this one. There is an element called break, BR. You can see now this break take this one to another line. But most especially, what I'm trying to tell you is that it's not only you can use it anyhow because this span too now I can give it a font size of for example now I can give it a font, I can let it be big like that other one. Let me say 30 pixels. You can see now this one too is big now, so you can use any. But if you need but if you look at this one now, I'm using 2 or 3 elements together. But if I use H1, it's just going to be an heading. So it depends on what you want to write it for. But if you want the elements to take the whole width of the container, you are going to use a block level element. But if you just want it to take a small space, for example, now I want to write, for example, I'm writing, see this one, I am a male, and here is a link to my website. Now, if you look at it, I want to, that this one is going to take the whole width, but I want to, okay, but I want to write a link, maybe my website link to this one. Now I can use an inline element inside a block level element. For example, I want to write this page. This is my link. Now, if I guess we have been taught attribute last week. If we say this one leads to HTTPS, this is my portfolio, .netlify app. Now you can see now, if you look at this screen now, you can see now I'm writing an inline element inside a block level element because they will be together. Because if I put P here now, assuming I put P here now, the thing will break, it won't make sense again. For example, I take this one to P. You can see now it has become, this is not what I want. But because I want to write inline elements inside, I want to be on the same line. So I'll be using an inline element. So if you want to write something on the same line, you always use an inline element. But if you want to write it, if you want to break it, you can use what? You can use a block level element. So that's that about that. Now,
Sorry, just one thing. So that means all headings are block elements.
most like I can always say that's not always true. You can always say that most headings are are block level elements. The reason why I say most, there's something we call SEO. I've forgotten what's the meaning of the meaning. There's what we call SEO marketing. The way your website search engine optimization. Thank you. Search engine optimization. The way the search engine works is that now, if if you want your page to appear on search engine, one thing your page must have is H1. The first tag your page is going to look for is an H1 element. So what if your page has an H1 element and another page doesn't have an H1 element, your page will be higher in ranking compared to the one that doesn't have H1. So they are also using block level elements, especially the headings. They are good for SEO. So that's one thing we should try and learn about headings. So it's best use that we use H1 for headings. But most of the things you see, like if you see a website now, for example, this MDN might not be, it's not a what call it, it's not an edit, it can just be an A tag. If you respect it, can be an A tag, or they can style it to be anything you want. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, now so how do we write CSS? Now, for example, now if you look at this now, assuming we want to style this H1, I want to style this H1. So the best way to communicate with CSS is just for me to take this H1 like this. I'll just come to my stylings. I'll just write H1. That means I'm telling that any H1 on that page, I want to style it. Then you are going to use this curly brace. That's how you are going to style. So you can see now, this H1 is what we call selector. What do we call it? Selector. That means this is what you are going to, we are using this to select an element. That means if we have 1000 H1 elements here, it is going to take that H1. Are we together? So it's going to start that all those H1. So after that, we are going to what? Select. If you look at it, we are having a what? A property. After the curly braces, sorry, it's being written like this. But if I save it, you can see I think you should also have this extension prettier. It helps you to format your code. Like for example, now if you see I wrote this. Sorry. Now if I save it, sorry, this is what I want to, this is what I mean. Now they are together, but if I save it like this, it's formatted it for me. So you can search for prettier on your browser, on your extension. Prettier, this is prettier. It's called prettier code formatter. Let me expand it so you can all see it better. So this is it. Search for this extension and it makes your code to be neater. And it also helps you to debug your code. If it doesn't format, that means there's an error in your code. That's why it's not formatting. So let's try and have it. So we have selected. So we have selected our H1. Then we have a property. Property is anything you can think of. What do you want? What do you want to happen to that element? For example, I want to change the color. Then I can say our color.
Yes, I have a question. It's here.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, please. How do you then make use of the prettier?
Eh?
Because how do you make use of the prettier? You only showed us how to download. How do we make use of it?
Once you can someone try and download it? Once you download it, there are some automatic settings you have on it that it will, once you download it, it will start to work. Unless you want some things like you want to customize it. But once you download the prettier, it will definitely work. Can anyone try it so that we can? If you download it, let me know if your code doesn't format to save us time.
By formatting code, what do you even mean? Because
Okay, now
we
know
that.
an example. I write color. For example, now I might be tired, I can write color. This thing will work. It will work. As I'm written it like this, it will work. Imagine I have 15 of these. I have 15, something like this. This doesn't really make sense. This doesn't really make sense. Like for you can see, how can someone read this? It's quite difficult. But with Splitter, if I save this, you can see Splitter makes it to look prettier, just like its name implies. Do you get it?
Yes. So if
For
you're
example,
writing something in the
Sorry.
wrong way, it helps you align it. Is that what you're
yes,
saying?
it helps you to format it and align it properly.
Is that what
Philip, I
also
have a
tells us what
question.
we have a
Sorry.
bug?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said, is that what also tells us when we have a bug too?
Now, for example, okay, thank you. For example, let me go back. This is how we have it, right? Now, inside this space, we have a opening and closing curly braces. Now, I didn't put one. One thing you know that see my index of CSS, it's now red. It's telling me there is an error. Now, let me try to save. You can see it didn't format. Definitely, if your code is not formatted without printer, it definitely indicates that there is an issue in your code that you need to take urgent care of. You get it? But if I return this like this and I save, it's going to format it.
Okay, but yeah, well, we'll get to know it eventually.
Yeah, but
Please,
what I would just advise you,
Yaka, what do you want
download
us to
it.
download now?
Do we have anyone, those of you that are in your system, can you try and download this? And let's see.
Mr. Isiaka,
Yes,
what did you say we should download?
prettier. Can you see my
Pretty,
prettier? Can you see my
oh,
screen?
prettier. Yeah,
Yes.
prettier. All right.
How you are going to know? Yeah, so that's just it. Yes, it has like more than, I think it has like 24, is it 24 million or something like. Yeah, is this 2.4? This is 4 million download. So if you check, can you please mute your mic if you're not talking? So if you check your, I don't know why it's supposed to display an image so I can see it properly, but I don't know what's happening. So it has like 2.4 million downloads and it is highly rated. So that's how you are going to know the one. So just search for it. Prettier code formatter. That's the name. So away from that, we're talking about how we can style. I said these our this I said this H1 is what we call our selector. From here, our H1 is our selector. Our H1 is our selector. You can see my screen here also. You can see, H1 is our selector. This color I've written here, is what we call our property. Then the next one is our the value. What value do you want to give to it? The value here is our red. So that's how we style our CSS. So we're always going to be having a declaration. Assuming we have, I have H2 here, and hello. So if I want to go here, I'll just come here. If I want to start H2. Assuming I want to change the background color, I want to change the background color, just the normal language, background color. I want to change it to blue. So that's how we are going to do it. Is that clear? So we are always, this is what we call the declaration block. This thing, these curly braces, they are called block. Yeah, anywhere you see it, CSS or JavaScript, they call it block. These curly braces, they are called block. These are called, each declarative declaration block contain one or more declarations separated by semicolon. There are rules in CSS. If you write something like this and you put that semicolon, it will work if it's the last one. If it's not the last one, there will be problem. But one good use of Prettier is that if I save this, it will return that semicolon for me. So now, if I want to write another one, I've put the background color to be blue. Suppose I want to make the color to be red. Suppose I want to make the color to be red or to be tomato. We can see now I'm having two words.
I'm sorry, sir. Is it possible for you to increase your VS code? Like, I'm struggling to see your code.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Let me.
Thank you.
Okay, I can still minimize it a bit. Yeah, you should be able to see it better now. Is this okay?
Yes, it's better. Thank you.
All right. So now we are having one or more declaration. We are having background. We are having a property of that has a value of blue, and we are having color. So we are having two declarations here. We can have as many as possible. We can have as many as possible. Our line style is none. we can have as many as possible declaration. But the only thing is that if we did not put semicolon here, you can see now it's giving us an error now. If I let me expand this so that we can all see. If I open my terminal, if you click on this terminal and you click on new terminal, now if you go to our problem, there's a problem here. It said semicolon expected line 11 column 8. Now that's a good way to debug. That means it's telling you that you should put a semicolon here. This is where it's supposed to be. But it's supposed to be each of the declaration must have a semicolon, except the last one if you wish. Like this one now, if I'm going to give another it's not going to affect it. But if you are going to be writing one or more declaration, you are going to be having one or more declaration, you must make sure that you put a semicolon at the end. This one now, there's no problem. But this one, there will be a problem. Are we together?
We're here.
That means the CSS is used to style what you've already done on HTML.
Yes. We'll get to that. We have not linked it because now, if you look at it, there's no communication. Like, as we are all here, something is linking us together. We connected to a Google link, connected using a Google link to a server. But there's nothing, I just created, the only thing linking them together, like they are all inside this folder, Web3 babies. But we have not connected them to each other. So that's what we are going to be doing in our next slide. So each declaration includes a CSS property name, and a value separated by a colon. It's a semicolon. So that's that about this. Let me expand this so we can see. Now we are still coming to the linking. Comments. How do we make comments? What is comments? Comment is something that you are telling the compiler or the computer not to read, should not bother about. The reason why is among the benefit of comments is that most of developers doesn't like to comment code. But if you didn't comment your code now and you write a code for 1 year, for 3 months, let's say 2 weeks, if you are going back again, you might find it difficult to understand it. And as a developer, please make sure you don't cram. You don't need to cram anything. Google is your best friend. Just once you know it and you can apply it, you don't need to cram it. Like now, even if you don't know how to write this color now, you can, since you know how to style CSS, they will bring it for you online. Then you are going to know it. You don't need to cram it. One mistake is that if you start cramming, you have a lot of things to cram, which you are not going to be able to, and it will affect your progress. For example, now this website, you can see, we see this button, this thing we are seeing here, the color is green. So assuming you create your own button too, you just now you know that once you select this button, you're just going to give it a background color of green, a color of white. So if you inspect this, the color here is white, the background color is green. So that's just it. You don't need to cram. That's an application of what we have just learned here. So the property is the color and the value is the green or the blue. So now how do we make comments? Comment is something that you don't want the compiler or the computer to read, but you still want it to be there so that you can be able to so another person can be able to read it, or you can be able to come back to it later. Comments are used to explain the code and may help when you edit the source code at the later date. For example, now this thing we have written here, we might need to come back to this thing another day. But now, for as soon as I didn't know this, I forgot now, and someone just asked me what is H1. I can easily say that H1 is what is the selector here. Our color here is what is the property, while our value here is what is red. This is a comment. This is a comment. Now, how do we make comments? We start with the / asterisk. Now, if you didn't close it, it will comment everything. If you have 1 million lines of code, it will comment it out. So now, but you need to close it. For you to close it again, you just take the star here and use the forward slash again. So anything you write in between this is going to be a comment. Even if you dress it from here to any place, anything you write inside this is going to be a what? It's going to be a comment. It's not going to be read by a computer by the computer or compiler. Not nobody will read it. It's only you that are going to understand it. So this is a comment. So this is how you make comments in CSS. The shortcuts, because as a developer, there are a lot of things that you don't need to bother yourself on. For you to make comments on your VS Code, control forward slash is what you're going to use. Someone should try it. Control forward slash. If you say control forward slash, it will write the comment. If you press it again, it will remove the comment. So you don't need to cram it. Even in your HTML, I guess you have been taught, if I want to comment this out, I can just use control forward slash to comment it out. You don't need to cram a lot of things, or you don't need to start shortcut. Knowing shortcut is advisable. Even if you are doing an interview and someone asks you that, if you tell him that you have forgotten, but you know that when you want to make a comment on your VS Code, you are going to use control forward slash. I believe the person who on interview will know that yes, you don't need to memorize everything, but you have an idea of what you are saying. So this is how you make comments.
Sorry, please, I have an issue. Like from the beginning of my CSS, like I'm having error. Like once I type H1, it's just bringing like the error that you had before you debugged and fixed it. So I don't understand what is going on.
Okay, do you write something? If you, for example, now I think this, if you didn't write anything between it, let me just cut this out. Sorry. Now I'm taking this out. Now, if you take this, it's giving you something. It's giving this
Yes,
is not
this is what is breaking out.
this is a warning. Now, if you click on your terminal and press new terminal, you go to the problem. It said do not use empty rule sets. It's just in CSS. You just make sure that now you have anything here. It's just giving you a warning that in CSS it's not the best practice for you to select an element without giving you any property. If you don't need it, there's no need of you declaring it. So if you remove it like this, the error will go. It's only telling you that don't make an empty
Am I
set.
saying curly brace expected CSS something?
Yes, you wrote only one. You only wrote one. There are two.
I only wrote H1 in line
Yes,
1, or should it be line 2?
okay, yes, you have to select in. You can see how you are, just like I explained. How do you write CSS? The syntax for CSS is different from the syntax in the HTML. Once you select it, you have to put the curly braces. You have to declare it. You have to put a declaration block like this. You can't just put H1 like that because that's not how to write in. CSS doesn't even understand that. It's going to give you an error.
Okay.
So you have to put something here, a color of red. Then the error will go. Error will go because you have written something. If you didn't put this one, it will throw an error again. Is that clear?
Yeah.
So we're on writing comments. So this is how we write comments. So don't forget, if I'm going to write a comment, you don't need to start typing it one by one. So start typing like this. Sorry, like this. Why? Okay, something's, I don't know what I put on my phone. But you don't need to start. So you don't need to start looking for star. I don't know what I've pressed on my system. But the best way to write comments, just control forward slash. And if you want to, like now, if I want to remove this comment now, I can also press control forward slash. It will remove it. If I can put it back. So this is better way. So you don't need to really remember. Just know that that's the syntax, but the way of writing comments is just for you to write control forward slash. Have anyone tried it?
Yes, I have for both CSS
Yes, I
and
have.
HTML.
Okay. Then we are good to go. So that's how we are going to. That's how we write comments in CSS. So that we can. A CSS comment is placed inside the style element and start with this and end with this. So that's that about comments. If anyone have issue, can before we move on. So the next slide, the next thing we are going to be having, and now if you look at this, I was putting yellow, red, not between here because we have not linked it together. CSS is not aware, HTML is not aware of this. It's not aware of this, the CSS we created. So now, how do we link our CSS? There are three different way of writing our CSS. There is something we call inline method. Let me put that inline method by using. I believe your last week we were being told attributes. What by attribute is something that describes an element. It is being written inside the first curly braces, the opening tag. It gives you a description about an element. For example, this H2 is what this hello. But if you have multiple H2 here, now how do we know that if I want to take this first one, there's different way I can select this first one. But there is a way I can also select it. I can give it an attribute. I can say that, for example, I can say that type. This I'm the one that is creating this attribute. Our type is what? First H1. For example, this type here is what we call what? An attribute. We are using it to describe this H1. If I go to my browser, if I go to my browser now and I inspect this first H1, you can see. Let me zoom my. If you look at this one too, you can see now I've given it an attribute of what? H type of what? Type of H1. This is what we call an attribute. There are different predefined attributes in CSS, in our HTML, sorry. Among them is what we call class. We have class, we have ID. So now, but for the sake of this class, for the sake of explaining this style, the inline, what we mean by inline styling, we are going to, by using the words, we are going to be using the style attributes inside the HTML elements. So this is how we are going to do it. So now this I'll delete this because we don't need it for now. Now for me to style this H1 now, I'm going to write style as an attribute. This our style is an attribute now. What do I want to give it? I want to give it a color of red. Now, if you notice now that something is a bit changing, we are not using curly braces here. Yes, if you are going to be writing it inside your HTML, you are going to be adding it as an attribute. It is going to be like this. Our style. We are going to be assigning a color of what? Of red. You can still write more. But it has to be also be ending with what? This semicolon. I can say our background color should be yellow. We can all see it. Our background color should also be yellow. So now this is the first way of writing CSS by writing inline styling. This is what we call inline styling. This is what we call inline styling. That means we are writing it inside our HTML. This is what we call inline styling. When we reach what we call it, specificity, we are going to know that which one is better and which one is the best. Now, if I now go, up to now we have not linked it, but if I go back to my screen now, you can see now we are having the first H1 is having what? A color of red and a background of what? Of yellow. So that's the first way we can style it. That's the first way we can style it. Anything you want to write, you can keep writing. If it's 1,000 line of code, you can keep writing. You just make sure you say you use semicolon to end it. Now I can give it I want to give it an height of 40 pixels, which I'm going to be talking later. So see, it's having an height. It's more than the number one. So this is the first way of what? Of styling our elements by using inline. Someone should ask a question, please.
Yes, I tried it out, but I didn't see any change.
Okay, now let me see my screen again and look at it. Now it is going to be because something you have been taught we have opening and closing tag. Okay. This first one is what we call opening tag. and this one is the closing tag, isn't it? Now, if I'm putting P here, this is the closing tag here, right? Now, inside this place is where you can, after this one is where you can put in all your attributes. And before you close it, you can say our style here. You can see. Or because me, I'm using Emmet, you can write style equals then these two. In between them, then you can write whatever you want. I want my color. Then you put this. This is a property. My property to have a value of brown. So if you save, because I have prettier, it will help me to format it. Let me give it. I didn't write anything here. I'm writing brown color. So that will work. Have you tried it again?
Yes, I have. It has worked. Thank you.
All right, that's fine. This is the best way to go about it, because now you won't have that same error, or you will still later get it, even when I'm not here, you later get it, but it will take you time. Like maybe you have to ask someone or you have to browse it. But the one we are doing now, you will not be having too much question about it again.
I have a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, so from your first line of CSS in the H2 here, I can see that in the HTML file.
Okay.
Okay, so every of the styling you're putting as a semicolon after
Yes.
it, except
Yes.
the last one. So is it the same thing that is applicable that you explained earlier on, that
Yes.
the last
Yes.
okay.
The last one might not have, if you want.
Okay, so that my second question is on this P tag here that you styled. It's
Yes.
just one, but you did not add a semicolon at the end.
Yes.
Will it still reflect in that way?
Semicolon is, it's also the first and the last. Nothing is that if you are going to be writing more than one property, you have to put semicolon. Like here, if I want to write another one after this brown, I have to put a semicolon.
Semicolon, okay.
But if I'm not writing,
Thank you.
There's no need. You can see my prettier, I wrote it, but my prettier knows that I don't need it. So he did it for me.
So I have a question too.
Okay.
When you added the height property as 40 pixels, right? Was it applicable to the comments or to the container? Because I noticed that the height of the word did not increase, but rather the container. So I wanted to confirm.
Now this H2 is the one that is though we are still going to reach there. This H2 is the one that has this height. Now, if you look at it, there's it's this one. Just that if I inspect it, normally there's some resets you usually do in when you are starting coding. It has a margin at the bottom. That's why it's not coming down. It has a margin and a padding. If I'm going here now, if I'm inspecting it, okay, yeah, because that's just the content. It's just this H1 that's supposed to that will fill up this place. It doesn't even have any. Okay, yeah, he doesn't have any. So this is the content that is having this value. But normally we don't usually give this our elements and height. It is the container that we usually give an height. Then this H2 will now fill that container.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
Sorry, just to confirm the question she asked. So now basically, as you added height to your style, the height is applicable to the what's it called now? The height is applicable to the inline tag, like the inline tag as a whole, not the what's this thing called now? Not the LO. It's applicable
it is
to
the LO. It is the LO that has that
height of 40 pixels.
Yes. Like
okay, but
H2,
okay.
This H2 is the one that have that that has that height.
Okay, but ordinarily looking at the results on the browser,
Browser,
the elo for that particular one is the same size with every other thing. It did not increase, rather it was a container that increased.
yeah, it is
Or
the
the gap
H2. There's something
between
what
files.
if you look at it now, there is if you look at it is this H2. If you look at when I'm selecting this, you can see all the H2 is one that have that. All this if I once I click on this content, all these things being selected. That's the H2 container. It is the one that is being selected. But for this one to match this one, it is another property we are going to be using.
Okay, for us to
I don't-
increase the height of the lettering now,
Yes,
we have to use
yes,
another property.
yes. Ordinarily, what we don't okay. Ordinarily, we don't usually use how do I call it? We don't usually use if you want to give an height, we don't usually give height to the element. The element usually this H2 is supposed to be the container that it is going to take. But we're still
Okay.
going to get to that, sha. Because it doesn't have we don't have a padding here and we have a margin here.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying clearly, for the height in CSS is applicable to the whole container of
Yes,
the tag, but if we
yes.
want to
Actually,
upload the letterings, it has to be a different thing entirely.
for example, okay, let me give a clearer. This most especially don't usually use now. Now I'm giving this a div now. This is a div. Let's style it so it can be clearer. We have our height of 30 pixels and our width of let's give it a width of 50 pixels. Then I'm writing more. I want to give it a background of red. Background color of red. Let's see what we have. It's just a container. Let's see what we have here. You can see we have this. Now, if I'm writing A here, if I'm writing A here, it doesn't mean that A will fill, this thing will fill that place. It is this one that is having this, this one is just taking its own width here inside that container. Now, let's now put this, let's put a p tag inside it. Let's see what we have.
So you can refer to the container as a line, like the line where those elements are in.
Container is just like as we call it contain. It's just like something that is containing, like where it starts and where it ends. Now, if I'm writing P here, that means this one, that means this P now will be having ordinarily because this P is inside this D. That means the background color of this P will be what? Will be this red because that's what is inside. That's where it's inside. You can see now. It is this this just is not its own normal height. It's not unformatted height. But this div now, that is its own size. Let me increase it to something like 150 and 130. So this piece just taking its own size here. But now it's still maintaining, it's going to take all the old width of this container. For example, now if I search for this pin, now you can see now its width is from here to here. It's taking the width of its container, and the container is that red. So that's why it's called a block level element. You can see now, if you look at my screen here, you can see now they said display is what? Is block. Display of this big this P is what? Is block. I can change it here also. I can say display is inline. Now, if you look at it now, it's not taking the width again, or the whole width again. I've changed it.
Okay.
So yeah, the other method of styling it is by using our internal, we call it internal styling. That means we are going to be writing our CSS inside our HTML, just like the way we are writing it outside the in index.css is where I'm going to write inside CSS, but we're going to be writing it inside our head section, inside our head element. So going here, this is where we have our head. So you can just take, you can now come here and write our style. This is how you are telling me this is style now. Is this clear? We are not telling this is style. Now, what we want to do, just like we have said before, we want to select H1. This is our H1 is this our selector here. Then we are having these curly braces for declaration box. Then what do we want to give? We want to give it a color of red, or the color of Rebecca blue, Rebecca purple. So this is a way of writing our CSS. That means you can write 1 million line of CSS. You can keep writing here. In as much as inside this your style element is going to be working. So if I save this and I go back, you can see this H1 now has a color of Rebecca blue, Rebecca purple. So that's the styling we apply here. So we can keep writing our style as we want it here. But if you look at it, it's not really neat. That we are, if you look at this my work now, for someone just coming to this my code now and he has to come here and start seeing a lot of H1 here, a lot of color showing on the screen. It's not too good for readability purpose. So that's why people say that instead of us creating something like this, why don't we have an external style sheet like this? This is our external style sheet. Why don't we have it here together? Why don't we have it here and we have our HTML separately? Then we'll link them together so that will be easier. So that takes us to how we are going to link our CSS. Yeah, after your title, then you come back here. You can, since we are linking it, we can delete this now because we are not doing inline styling. Sorry, internal styling. We call it external. I will not delete it. I will comment it out. Then I will write a comment here. I will call it internal styling. So this is the internal styling we use here. I've commented it out, so it's not going to read this. Now under here, I want to link our CSS to HTML. Now, if you click on link like this, your CSS, you can see a lot of options. But what we want to do, we want to link our CSS, HTML. We want to link our CSS. So if you go to the third one, this is how you select it like this and click enter. It's going to give us something like this. It's telling all this, making a reference to is what you are going to do is a style sheet. Then the reference, where is this thing located? Is where we have this. That will take us to relative part. Now we have to look for where we have to link it to where this folder is. You have to know the folder. If you look at it here, this HTML and index.html and this CSS folder, they are in the same folder. So if they are in the same folder, we'll call something like this. They are in the same folder. Because they are in the same folder. Or if you put CSS like this, because this HTML and this CSS are in the same folder, then it knows what is outside the what is above or what is below him. So it knows that this, when you are in the HTML, if you put this href and you put CSS, it knows that this CSS is also inside him. So it's going to put CSS. Or you can put this, because we are in this, we want to be inside the same folder, inside the same root folder. You go to this // this. But because the best way is just to write CSS because they are in the same folder. Inside this CSS, we want to move inside the CSS. If you click here, now we are now inside this CSS by this // Then what we want to style the link is our index.css. So this is how we link it. So with this, I've linked my CSS to my HTML. Do you have a question? Is that clear?
Excuse me, I don't understand the CSS index or CSS.
I didn't hear that one.
I said I don't understand the CSS. Like,
Okay.
how did you get this place?
Okay. Now, if you look at this Web3, this is a folder now. This is where we are. This is our index.html, right? This is a file, not a folder. This is a file, but this CSS here is a folder, and inside this CSS is where we have our index.html. So now we want to link this our CSS to our HTML. So we have to go to a path. We have to move like we have to tell this computer where this. If I click on this now, it's going to open it. We have to tell the computer where this CSS is. This is how we are going to be using href. I think we have been in your A tag. We have been told that A tag is what is an anchor tag. It's used to link it's used to link we can use it to link two pages together, or we can use it to move around in the page. Like every link you are clicking on your website, it is used. Everything is used. We are using A elements. This A element is what they use. All the link. The only thing where they are going to put that in this href, this attribute href, they are going to put the link of the website, maybe www.google. If I take, because this is not where it's supposed to be, if I take it here and I come to the body here, if I save this and I go back, where is it? Oh, what am I missing? Okay, I didn't put anything. Yeah, I didn't put anything. If I put Google here now. So now if you click, that means now if I click on this now, it will take me to Google. Okay, because I didn't write it very well. You can say HTTPS, this is the normal web, right? HTTPS, this. I want to link to Google now. If I click on, if I go back, what's that? Okay. Okay. Now, there's something we call targets. What you been taught? Okay, let me just explain. This target is used to most time when you go on your website. This is supposed to work, sir. I don't know. So most time when you go on your website, when you click on a link like this, it opens another page, or it takes you to another page. What they use there is what we call the target attribute. That means it should open a blank page. So let me try it again. I think that should work. I don't know why it didn't work. But now if I click here, wow. It's supposed I don't know what am I doing wrong here? It's supposed to work.
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay.
If your HTML file and your CSS file are in the same folder, do you then need to add
Now
folder name?
no, since they are in the same, thank you. Now I'm going to drag this out. That means I've dragged it out. It's no longer inside the CSS folder. You can see now it's no longer together. So now if I come here now, I don't need to do anything like this because they are in the same folder. I just write index.css. Do you get it? Because they are in the same folder, I don't need to write.
Yes,
Or if
I
you do something like this, it's still the same. But the best way, because they are in the same folder, there's no need of you can write index.css. Because it's not here. If I drag it here now, it's no longer inside it. It's no longer they are no longer together. It's only this CSS folder and the index that are together. So since this CSS folder and index they are together, I'm going to write CSS like because they are together. Now, by putting forward slash, that means you are opening that. That means you are entering that folder. Then inside it, I want to use my index. I want to use my index.css. Is that clear?
Yeah, I understand now. I understand.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So that's how you do it. That's how you do it. Now, I'm surprised this. Now, okay, so that's how we link it. So let me go to my slide so that I can serve as a guide. So we have the external, we have used the link element to link an external file. The most common way to add CSS is to keep the style in external file sheet. You can have 1,000,000, 1,000 style sheets, and you can just you keep linking them together in the head. So now to confirm that everything is working, now let's go to our body. You know, everything we are using HTML, we are writing, every code we are going to be writing or HTML we are going to be writing is being written inside our body.
Hello,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry to take you back. Can you just go to the link? I just
Okay.
want to ask something for clarity. So now you're writing this CSS slash because they are not in the same folder.
Because because I want to move, the CSS is both the CSS and the index are in the same folder. But what I'm looking for is index. That slash means that I'm telling me that it should open. I'm moving inside this CSS folder to see. That's why if you follow me like this, if I delete this now as I'm inside CSS, I'm this CSS folder now. I want to go inside it. I'll put forward slash. Then it's telling me what is inside. If I had another, if I had another one here, let me say style.css. I'm having two here now. Coming back here
Yeah.
now. Coming back here now, if I put slash here, it's asking me which one to write. Because by that slash means that I'm inside that CSS folder. So which one am I choosing?
Okay.
So that's it.
So what about if they're not in the same folder, the HTML and if the HTML and the CSS are not in the same folder, or we just have to put them in the same folder?
Currently now they are not in the same folder. For example, now let's assume that let me create another folder called HTML. Maybe all our HTML files like this. Now this is my HTML here. You can see that my HTML is there. I'm having two folders.
Yes.
I'm having HTML and CSS folder. Now, where's my HTML is where? My index of HTML is inside my HTML folder. Now, if I click on this, if I write HTML, it's not going to work. Now, I need to move out of to get where this is. I have to move out of this where this my because this my HTML, but I want to look for CSS. I have to move out of this HTML first. I have to move out of it. To move out of it, we are going to do something like this.
Okay.
Sorry, I think it's two forward slash. Sorry, it is double two dots. If you are in the same if you are in the same folder, if you are in the same thing, that's why you're going to use one.
Okay, if they're in the same folder, we use one dot and slash.
Yes, but you may not use dot. You can just write the name of that thing you want to look. But if you want to move outside this folder now I'm inside this. I'm here now. I'm here.
Okay.
This is where I want to go outside. I want to be at this root level so I can see what is there. Then I will do something like this dot. Then I've moved outside. Where am I? I've moved outside this index. I'm now outside now. I can see HTML and I can see CSS. Then I want to go to CSS. Now, I want to go inside CSS folder. Then I will press forward slash like this. Then it's not going to ask me, is it index or style? Then I'm going to choose.
Okay. I get it now. Thank you.
So we can leave it like that instead of going back. I think we should also have the same. Nothing should break. Okay, yeah, something will break because this live server doesn't understand that we are now in here. So now I have to go back here now and restart my server. Yes, you know, if you look at it now, see how the server is doing. This is the how do you call it, the link, or how do you call it, the server. Then it's now telling me that it's moving. You open what? HTML. Then inside HTML file is now open what? Index.html. That's how the routing is. That means the server open from apart from this it's open this HTML file, HTML folder, then it's opening what? Index.html. So I think that's the, now going back to our index.css. So we have linked it. Now I was saying something. I want to know that the best way for you to know, because this thing can give even a seasonal developer an edit. If you didn't link your CSS together very well, you just be writing CSS and you not be applying your HTML. Then you keep wondering, what's the issue? And the issue is that you did not link your CSS very well. So now, for us to know if we link it very well, everything we are writing in HTML, everything we are going to be writing that I want it to appear on our screen is going to be writing inside our body. So we can style this body now. We can go to our index. I want to close this. We can close it to our this index.html. We can go to the top. Now there's something we will explain. Well, our body here. I'm selecting our body. You can see that now all our body is now what is black. That shows that the CSS, the linking is working. The linking is working. Now, like I said also, there's something we call cascading. Now, the way CSS, please try and make sure you try and get this once. The way CSS work is that it starts from, it's really from the top to the bottom, to the top to the bottom. Now, for example, now you can put another. Sorry. If I put another.
I'm sorry, but your screen is frozen on my end. I want to be sure that it's
body here.
I can't
Yes,
also
yes,
see your
okay.
screen.
Your screen is not
Hello?
visible.
I give the background color.
Sorry, your screen is frozen. We can't see
Yes,
what
not
you're
shout,
saying.
not shout, why you not shout? Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
I didn't know. Sorry, where do you? I didn't know that I lost my connection. So where did I stop, or where could you hear me reach?
When you were talking about the body with
The body part.
background color black.
Cascading.
Okay, now
Run it back from where you explain how to ascertain if we link our CSS file to the HTML file correctly.
Okay.
I missed that, please.
Okay, thank you. Now the best way for you to know is this. Right now, if this body now is black, this body is black, or this body, because that's all what our HTML. That's where our HTML is now black. That means it's working fine. Suppose I've written something like this. Maybe I mistakenly written like this, and I save. You know, now you can see now it's not black. Definitely, you have to know that something is wrong. So, or maybe it's not properly linked. Or if I write this now, and I go to my index.html, maybe I now mistakenly put CSS. I put another S here, and now save. Let me save this one too. It's not going to work because I've linked my CSS inappropriately. So it's not going to work. So then you start debugging that what could be the issue, what could be the issue. It can be that you didn't link it properly. So just like this. So I have to delete it, something like this, and save. So if I save this now, everything is now black. This shows that what? That the CSS is properly linked to my HTML. Now we also have something we have something we call cascading. Though I think this will still come next, but I just want to tell you because you can see some differences now. Now, assuming that I was asking, assuming I gave it a body of yellow now. There are two bodies, black and yellow. Which one do you think is going to appear?
Black.
Black.
Why?
Black one.
Because you said it reads from top to
Because it's given from the.
I think yellow.
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 Let's see. Let's see first. So we have yellow. Now, why is it yellow? I said it's going to read from the top to the So what's the last thing it's going to read?
The yellow part.
Yes, it will be the yellow going to read as the last thing. So computer easily forget. Once he has reached that point, he saved that black in his memory. And once he see that, oh, this another color, they have given me another property, we will leave that one and jump to the next one. So that's what we call that's how CSS. It reads from the top to the bottom. So the last one will always be the one to appear. But I perform a magic here. Now, Joe, I'm basically going to explain this. Now it's now black again. Yes, the reason why it's black is this. You know, in Nigeria, the head of the government is the president. Is our number one citizen. If they said, "Oh, come and represent us," it is Buhari that will be number one. Even if I'm close to, if I'm like just like sorry for bringing history into Abi, bringing another thing to it. If I was there at the Queen Elizabeth burial yesterday, and they said someone should come and represent Nigeria, it would definitely be Buhari. What I'm trying to say is this: there's always preference. We call what cascading. That means it follows some kind of rules. It's called follow some kind of rules. Anywhere you see this important, it is this one that will take place. That will be the one that will first come. It won't. The CSS will now neglect. It will neglect this. Though I'm still going to explain better. It will neglect this and to only choose this one because this one has importance. But who can tell me what will happen if this one to have importance?
Then yellow appear.
Yeah, yellow will appear because important to come. This thing is no longer valid because they all have it again. Then it is this one that will take the value. It's just like saying, now let's say having importance is 1. This one too has 1. But this one is the last one. If you have another value, because it's the last one, you always get more value. So this one is 11, while this one is 1. So it's this one that's going to work. Sorry for taking you this long. We are still going to talk about this when we are talking about specificity. But yeah, so that's our cascade. If you look at this now, H2 here is having a background color of what? Of blue. So it will still retain his own background color, because that is his own color. Why this one, the body will still retain the number one. The reason why we are going to talk about this later, you can see that there are spaces. They are not supposed to be spaces, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah. So now let's go to box model. The CSS box model is used when talking about design and layout. Now, the CSS is essentially a box that wraps around every HTML element. So we can consider all HTML elements as a box. That's why here when I'm inspecting, if you look at it, you see a box here similar to that one. This is my H2 element. You can see it's like a box. It's like a box. Now, what does that box mean? It's a content that it surrounds what? It wraps around an HTML element. So if you write H1 just like this. We assume that it is surrounded by this box or this box. What are they all about? Let's take a look at it. Now, let me just give you an example, an illustration of how a CSS box model look like our house. Now, our house, where we are saying is this our where you are is the, let's put it as the content. That's where that's where you call your house, your home, where you are staying, or the whole building. Now, padding is like your surrounding, your compound. It's used, padding is like a what? Is like your compound. The border, let's say the border is like your fence. Let's put a border, just like we said, normal border. Why the margin is like the external spaces, your neighborhood. That's just an example. That's just my how I can use the CSS box model. The box model, the element itself, you yourself or your building yourself is the content. That's why if you see this here, this is my H2 here now. This H2, this is the content. If you look at it, let me see the one. Okay, this one that this H1 that you can see now. If I click on this content, you can see it's telling this is the content. It doesn't have a padding. It doesn't have a padding. That's why you're not seeing the padding. It doesn't have a border, but it has a margin. You can see when I hover on the margin, it's giving that space. That's the value of the margin. Do I have so okay. Before we move about this, let me just yeah, what about the padding? The padding is the one that surround the it's the one that surround is the one that surround the element. Padding is used to create a space around an element. For example, now let's go to are we together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we have this p tag inside our this HH. Let me say I have a padding. I want to have a yeah, this one will have a padding now. Okay, let me just put I don't have a padding yet. I don't have a padding. Just like what do you call it? Our surroundings, the compound, our compound where we park our cars. They give space. They give our house more beauty and give there are spaces in between. There are spaces around our house. That's how our padding is. Now, if you look at this H element, it's saying I don't have a padding. You can see I don't have a padding. You know, now this is the content. This thing you are seeing here is just its own content. This thing I highlighted is the content now. Now, assuming now I want to give it a padding, I would like to split it into two so that it will be easier. So it won't take much of our time. We don't have much time again. Now, assuming now I want to I'm writing an inline style now. I'm giving our style equals, I'm giving this a padding of, let's say, 20 pixels. Now, what the pattern is going to do is that it's going to create outside the content. Notice the content. It's going to create some space. You can see now, it creates a space of from here to here now is 20. From this eye to the edge here is 20. From this eye to the edge here is 20. Here too, there's also another content. There is also here and there's also here. So if I give this, let me give it a background. I have to put a semicolon here, don't forget. A background of, sorry for those that can't see, let's say blue. Something is wrong here. I have to put another here. Wow. Oh, blue doesn't have, I'm writing, I think it's like this. Yeah. Now this is the content in which the reason why let me give this one in a span tag. The reason why you are having the background color creating this place is because it's a block level element. If I give it a color instead of background, let me give it a color. Not taking it, but okay, that's not what I want to explain. Now we're having this but if I'm giving it a span, Okay, let me just give you this one. I want it to just take its own width, and it didn't take much. Oh. Now I have something is sorry. I have a padding. Okay, because I get the content is wrapping. Let me just give it a width of 200. And let me reduce this to 5 so that we can easily see it. Now, this thing is a bit clear now. Now, this from here to here is the padding now. This from here to here is 5 pixels. From here to here is what 5 pixels. Are we together? From here to here is what 5 pixels. So that's what we mean by padding. Padding is what that surround the elements. If I take this one out so that it will be easier, I take this span out and do something like this. Now let me give it a 15 pixels padding. And you can see now it's now big. If I give it 105, it will be big. Now you can see this is our content. This is the content. But this thing that surround this padding are the one is the one that surround our content is what we call what padding. So it's used to give space, just like this. If this is our house, we are giving space around this our content. It's giving space around it. That's what our padding is all about. And yeah, padding now. Sorry, I will. I don't like. I guess some people will have issues saying what I'm writing. So let's just do that. I want to take this style away. I want to write it. I want to write it here. I want to write it here. Now this is my span. So I want to give it a padding of say let's say 100 pixels. Why is it not working? Because we can't see it. We have to put a background color. We can't see because there's no color. There's no color that we're going to say is there. Let me give it a blue. So now this is our this is the content now, and this is the padding. This is the content now, and this is the padding. And padding can take two. It can take two values. Now we're having 100. Now, if I want to give it, if I say 10, 100, this 10, 100 means that up and down is 10. Up and down is 10. Here means I can create a comment in between this. Sorry, and do something like this. I don't know why I can't press. I don't know why I can't press. Now I have to create a comment in between them. So I can say that now this 10 pixels, it means that what? Top and bottom. That's what this 10 pixels means. Why this 100 pixels means what? Right and left. This one means right and left. Is it getting difficult? Now, if you look at it now.
I think that because your screen is divided into two, we can't see the full code. So we're just seeing segments and segments, and it's kind of hard to understand that way.
What about now? That will be too small. Because the best way is just to have it side by side. Okay, let me just do, let's say settings here. This time view word wrap. Okay, don't worry now. If I move like this, it will still wrap it. You can see it will wrap it. Now, if you look at it now, I'm saying our padding top and bottom from here to here is what? It should be what? It should be 10. So here is, let me see if it is. There's another thing we need to do, but we'll still talk about that later. I want to be sure if it's not in border box. Okay, now, yeah, it's not. Now, if you look at it now, if you look, these are content. It is the one that is being highlighted here. These are contents here. And we're not saying padding at the top. You can see the top here is what? Is 10. The padding at the top here is 10. But here is what? 100. Here too is what? 100. And the bottom is what? Is 10. So if you are giving 2 values, we can also give 4 values. Now, if we are giving 4 values, we are starting clockwise. We are starting from top. That will be top, right, bottom, left. So if you give it a 4 value, it will be top, right, bottom, and left. So now I want to give it 4. Like now, this 10 here, this is the top. We can easily break it like this. See what? 10 here, this 10 here is 10 here is for top. Let's say 30 pixels is for our right, and then 40 pixel is for our bottom. You have to either we give space or we take it to another line. Our 30 pixel is our bottom. Our left should be 100 pixel. If you save it, my code will get formatted. So okay. Oh, sorry, I'm giving you 5 value because this is another one. That's why it's not working. Yes. Now, if you look at this now, this is our content. This is our content here. Now we are having a padding top, as we have explained. Our padding top here is 10. That's from here, from this here to this edge. Then to our right here is 30. Just this one is 30. Then our bottom, if I give this one 300, so we can see better now. So now this service from this side to this side is what? Is 300. Now down here is 40, and our left here is what? Our left here is 100. So that will mean by what? That will mean that's what we mean by padding. It's going to give space around our elements. Is that clear?
Yes.
Do you have a question? Who is coding along with me that is having challenge?
I want to ask something.
Sorry, I would like to know how you comment on CSS.
Huh?
You comment on CSS, how do you make it? Because I know of one of these emails that use control and then /.
Yes.
But one of CSS.
All comments, all the shortcut, either you are using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, I don't know of other language, but I know of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and there are other frameworks. Control / will always give you a comment.
Okay, / is for all of them. Comment and control and /.
You press control, you hold it, and you press /. It will use to comment at your comment.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You can also learn the syntax often, but that's just the way. That's just the short. You might be writing maybe a quiz. You might be writing a quiz, and they will say that which of the following is the correct comment for CSS. It can give you the one in JavaScript. It can give you the one in CSS, and you can also be writing an interview. There are some interview questions, especially for beginner, that you always see that which of the following is the correct way of writing comments in CSS or in HTML.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, Ambola.
Okay, so yes, the way you gave this padding and it spaced everything out. How about if there are two different characters on the same line, and you're trying to move them closer to each other with the use of this span? Is this something that is possible? I don't know if you understand my question.
Let's try something.
Okay.
Let's try. Okay, now let's try something. Let's assume we have this div now. Having this div, I'm going to remove the other div. I'm going to remove some things here. Let me remove something so that it's easier Now we're having this div now. Let's assume we are having a P element. Let's say I am div 1. Let me say I am div 2. There are some things you still need to know. When an element is inline, it can't take a block value. In sense that now, if I give it a padding top because it's inline, don't worry, we'll get that. Don't let me, so that it won't become more ambiguous. Now let me give this div. I can clear some of this thing here. I'm giving this div. Let's style it. Let's give it a width of 300 pixels and a height of 100. I'm going to be writing something. You don't need to mind for now. Okay. Of grid. Mind it for now. Let's item. I just want everything to be at the center. At the center. So now we'll go back to where we are working. I'm going to expand this. Okay, I didn't give them our div a color, so it will take the color of the parent. A background color. So we have something like this. I am div 1 and then I am div 2. Guys, now if I'm giving, let me also do, let's increase this width to like 600. So we have this. Let me give this one a class. This is an attribute. Oh, so that it won't be ambiguous. We have not talked about class. Let me just give that H. Have our time is H2 here. So having these two elements, I have to. So we're having these two elements here. Now,
Sorry, your
if I'm
screen is
giving
frozen.
my and don't worry about this for now, so that it will be more okay. Now, if I'm giving,
Your screen has been frozen for a while, so
of oh, where did I stop, Fabio?
When you move to HTML and you started with the div 1 and div 2, so that's where it's.
we can want to.
Okay. So that I don't know if it will be easier for you to see. I can wrap this so that everything. I'm deleting these comments and I'm closing this head like this because we don't need
Your
it.
screen is still frozen, sir.
It's still frozen.
Is this?
Not
Let me
moving.
stop.
Nothing is happening on your screen, sir.
I'm trying to reshare now.
Okay.
Can you see my screen? It's coming up now, right? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can now.
Okay, now if you can see my screen now, I'm removing. Okay, so I'm having I have a div one. I'm a div one and I'm a div two. We're having these two here. So now I want to give my H1 a padding of 10 pixels. 10 pixels up. Let's say we want to have 20 pixels down and 30 pixels by bottom and 30 pixels. Let me see. You can see now it has shifted this one down the line, isn't it? Because if we inspect this, I think it's better I use my console better. I think I can do something like this. Let it be side by side. Okay, can you see it now? If you inspect this element now we're having our div here. You can see my first one. If you can see my first one, I'm div one. See what it's having. See this shape. It's having this the content itself. This is how the thing look like on its own. Then we have our padding. 10 at the top, 20 by the right, 30 by the bottom, and 30 by the left. So now, because now it's having a border, there's no border, but there's a margin. That's why there's a space here. There's a margin. That's why I'm going to talk about margin so we can quickly round up this class. So we're having, you can see now this value, this padding I gave it, I've moved this div one, it has moved it down. If I also style my H2, let's just go to my H2 like this and let's style it here. If I also give it a padding of, let's say 30 pixels, I'm going to move it too. Now, how does it move it now? If you look at it, I'll give it 30 pixels in different places. It has given it 30 pixels. So it's going to, now both of them now have different spaces. It has spaced them. So it's going to give internal spaces. It gives space surrounding an element. That's what we call padding. And we have border. Border is like, just like we know, let's give it a value. Let's say our border is 3 pixels solid and red. Now, our border is immediately after our padding. Our border is immediately after our padding. This is where our padding, if you are here, look at it here. Now, this is our content. See our padding. This is where our padding stop. Then this is our border. That's our 3 pixels. That's how we have it. So I can also give this one to a border of 30 pixels. Yellow. That's how we can yellow and dash. I think there's dash. Oh, that's too thick. Let me modify the value to, let's say 5. So this is a dash. This is a border also. I guess you can see my screen.
Yes.
So border is after the padding. After the content, we have the padding, then we have the border. So we have the border. Then the last one we have is also the margin. If you look at it, normally these elements are not supposed to have margin, but they are automatically having because that's the default way. You can see now there is margin. Margin is used to push. It will push other elements away from it, just like our surroundings. To push other elements away from it. But what this one is what this div is going to give it an internal spacing. This one is going to push the content out. In her CSS documentation here, if you read this, it said, margin are used to create space around an element outside of any defined borders. So our margin always come after our border. Now, this one always have a default margin, though we are still going to talk about that. It's not good that this element has a default margin. We are supposed to be the one to give it a margin. So now, if I give this a margin of let's say 30 pixels. Until now, let's just give it, let me say 80. Now, everything around is going to push it away. You can see it's going to push everything around it. It's going to push it away. If we inspect this H1 element now, Now, if you look at it now, we are having 61. There's something we call margin collapse, but that one will be taught later. Now this there is giving, I gave it 80, but it's gave it 61 because there's something we call margin collapse. You can try and read about it. What do you mean by margin collapse? Because this one is 80, I gave it, but this one is coming at 61. So why is it like that? Because there's another margin. This one too also, this second element to also have a margin. So margin on top margin, then it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse. They are going to have it together and become one. So please try and read about margin collapse. So now this element is having a margin. Margin is used to give an a space around an element. Anything beside it is going to take it away. It's going to take it far away from him. But why this one is the inner? It's inside that element is where the padding is, while the outer one is the margin. So I think by tomorrow we'll still come. So that's how we have this box model. We have the content, and we have our padding, our border, and our margin. So as an assignment tomorrow, I want us to go and search for what we mean by margin collapse. When do we have a margin collapse? So well, that's what we are going to be, where we are going to be starting tomorrow. Do you have any question before we round up the class? Do you have any question? Abibola, is it clear?
It's clear, but what I actually meant to have, I was checking something on, I think I can't really remember where now, and I don't really know what they did. Maybe they centered the text or something, but the bullets were afar off. So the bullets were on one lane, then these texts were in the middle. So I was just wondering if there is anything or any of these styles, or even if this pattern can work for you, to move the bullets closer to the text in the middle.
No, I don't think. I don't think a list item, the bullet is part of it. It's another. I can't remember, but I know it's not the. If we have an O head here, and we have our Li terms for, we have this for Li here like this. And if we give our Li a padding of okay. So if we have a padding like let's say 10 pixels, it's only take it, the Li is part of it, but I think it's another selector. These are the list. If you look at this list here now, I'm giving the Li a padding. Okay.
Okay.
I think is it. What if
maybe
what if I'm giving the padding of 50? There's also another selector. Let's say 1. Okay. It'll also be 11, 12, 13. So yeah, I think the padding works fine, but there's a way of selecting. There's a way you can style this. There's a way that you call this list style. I think it's called list style. When we say list style,
okay, is there yes, my curiosity comes in here. Like, is there a way to move those these ones, like assuming they are okay, even yes, as they are ones, is there a way to move them closer? Move them closer to the options.
They are if you don't put padding, they are going to be closer.
No, okay. This is basically what I saw somewhere. I can't really remember where. The texts were central. They were in the center of the page, but the bullets were far off at the extreme left. So my question is there a way we can move the bullet close to the words in the center? Because it's looking a bit awkward that the bullets are at the extreme left and the words are in the center.
Okay, yeah. When we talk about, that's when we talk about layouts. when we talk about the layout, when we say display, flex, the one when we talk about the layout, then justify content should be sent. Let me see. So maybe this is what you mean. Okay, they are in. Yeah, let me just do it here. Display of block. Now, you if this and this, they'll be at the center, right?
Yes, the 11, 12, 13, they'll be in the center.
Okay, yeah,
Like,
it's possible.
arranged vertically.
The way you are going to do it is this. Now, in layout, we have 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional layouts. Like now, like I'm coming. If I can use this as an example here. Okay, this is not centered. I'm coming. We said our display body should be our place item should be center. Why is not center? Now, what I'm telling you here is I'm trying to say here is this. For example, now this one here is, let's remove this so that it will be clearer. Now, if I say our div here now is okay. If I give this div a display of flex, I give the display of flex, justify content should be sent. And now they are the center now.
Okay.
That one we'll talk about it. It's a very important part of topic. We'll call it layout. We'll be talking about flex. We'll be talking now. It's at the center of the page of this box. Now we're talking about flex, and we're talking about grid. And we'll be talking about, maybe we'll talk about floats, but nobody use floats now. We now use both flex and grid for the layouts now. So it's a very important topic in CSS.
Yeah, just to be clear, you had to wrap it in a div. You can't just put the unordered list selector on its own to give it a style to make the bullet move on its own. Hello, can you hear me?
Sorry, I didn't know I muted myself. Since I want to take all of them together and want to slide them, I want to move both 1, 2, 3, every one of them to the center. That's why there's something we call container. For example, now, for you to be able to move something, it must be inside a container. The way the layout works. If I want to center an element now, the element has to have a width and height. So now all those elements inside it, well, no, when you have, maybe we have a width of 100 and height of 100. If I want to center it, then they will be around like 50-50, and it will not be at the center. So they must have a width and height. Since I want to move I want to move all the lists. That's why I just use display of flex. And if you see it here, now, this div container now is now having a flex. It's now called a flex box. This is an item inside it.
We could not hear you all
It's
along.
an item inside it. Answer your question.
Well, yes, but the line was breaking all along, so we could not hear you. I watched, even in the recording, you won't be speaking because it was breaking.
Okay, you can actually view. You can actually send me a.
Okay, maybe I'll just do that.
Further clarification because this past 7.
All right, thank you. Sorry for taking your time.
No, not at all. It's allowed. So thank you everyone for joining the call. I hope the class is being enjoyed. Let me have feedback or attending to it. So same time tomorrow, let's come very early so that we can. CSS is very broad and we have very ample of time. So please, if you are not with your system today, try and at least we'll be more, we'll be building something. Yeah, that's all. I don't know if the coordinator is call it a day.
Mr. Isiaka, will the video be sent? The recording?
Yes, this class.
And the slides
All right,
too.
thank you so much.
Yeah, and the slides as well. The slide.
Yes,
Yeah, I think
yes, so we can go through and have a better understanding.
Right before the class. Try and check the yeah, try and check the.
All right, thank you so much.
I'm still going to share it again. Thank you everyone for joining the call.
Yeah,
Bye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Bye. Good night.